Welcome back, everybody, to Pivot Point of View. I'm Dexter Millsap along with Becky Pearson. Thank you all for tuning in. Man, we have just had a plethora of great guests on the show with a lot of good information. So be sure to go back and check out our past episodes and like and subscribe so we can reach more people. Man, we've really enjoyed it. We've been doing this over a year now, almost a year and a half. So it's just been great. Today, we have had a lot of questions about weight training and protein intake and all of those things. So we're going to dive into that today. So,
Well, I want to back up just a little bit and I want to talk about why it is so important for us to weight train. Okay. And so, me being a woman over 50, the concerns that I have are a um weight gain. Okay, so I'm getting that weight around my middle, and I truly do feel like my diet is pretty darn dialed in, and it has been super frustrating for me. Okay, we worry about our metabolism tanking. Okay, and we worry about our hormones tanking. And so the importance of weight training, and then we're going to talk about how to keep your muscle and not lose it if you are dieting. But you really, really, truly do need to weight train for your metabolism because it's the engine that keeps your body going. Your muscles are your engine that keeps your body going, and it's going to boost your metabolism. It is going to help your bone density. That's the other thing, like osteoporosis for women in menopause is huge. And so, how do we prevent that? Um, so those are like my whys is I want to be strong because I want to keep doing the things that I love to do. And that's the conversations that I'm having with women over the last, especially this summer. Like we have clients that are in their 70s and they are still riding strong, but we really have to keep them strong because if they get into a wreck, if they fall, if their horse falls or something like that, their best defense is to be strong to not get hurt. And so that's my why in regards to strength training. And I don't want to be a skinny little girl anymore. I don't want the fat, but I want to be strong. And I really do think strong is the new sexy instead of skinny is the new sexy. I don't know your thoughts on that. I mean, you're a younger guy, and so your why is probably very different than mine, but what's your thoughts for the male clientele that are listening to us?
so you always hear like, well, I don't need to work out because I work all day and I do this and I throw bales and I do all this and that's great. It's great that you're active. But
Mhm.
does a football player just play football? Does a basketball player just play basketball? No, they have to train for it. They gotta lift, and that's where that overload principle comes in. You overload the body in the correct way and build strength, so then you're able to sustain that more throughout the day. And so I would say, um, also I'm gonna single out one of those hormones that you talked about tanking as you get older. I just went to my functional health person and they said that my growth hormone was like it was terrible. It was really low. And so that's a typical thing as people age. I mean, I'm not like super old, but I'm not 20 anymore either. And so as people age or your lifestyle or whatever is going on, um, that growth hormone can definitely decrease. And so, I looked at my lifestyle and I looked at how do you naturally increase growth hormone? So everything that is going on right now, I am like striking out, okay? Because stress, poor sleep, not getting enough protein, all those things just kill growth hormone. Not lifting hard and that type of stuff because lifting and exercise increases growth hormone as well. But nothing like poor sleep and stress and inflammation to kill off growth hormone. So those are some things that a person can look at right off and because if you're producing enough growth hormone, then you're able to recover easier, and your muscles are getting what they need through that pulse release of the growth hormone when you sleep and throughout the day.
Yeah. And I pulled up some fun facts in preparation for this episode. And after 30, adults lose 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade. Okay? And then less muscle equals slower metabolism, weaker bones, more pain, and less function. So, really, strength training is the only way to combat that. So, if we think about 3 to 8% of our muscle mass per decade, okay, so I am 50 in my 50s, okay, so after 30, so I've had 2 decades of losing, 16% of my muscle mass. And I sure don't weigh less than I did back in my 30s. So I'm replacing that with fat instead of muscle. So again, if you're really wondering, well, do I really truly need to get into the gym or do I really truly need to strength train? Yes, you do, especially if you're over 30. Um, it just like it is the fountain of youth. I really do feel like the strength training is the fountain of youth. The other thing, muscle it isn't just about looks. It's about like keep it like we talked about, keeping that engine going. It's going to give you more horsepower in your engine and it will burn more fat. And it's the insurance policy against injuries, I think. As long as you don't create um you know, like you said, you have to have good form when you're lifting, you have to do good technique. And that's where if you're unsure of that, hire somebody to help you out, at least to get you started. Quite honestly, I'm going into these gyms in North Platte and the weight room is intimidating to me. So I was talking to one of the owners last night and I'm like, just can you take me through how these machines work? I've not been a gym rat my whole life. I've not been on that side of it. Yes, I've done physical therapy my whole life, but we don't typically use a lot of those big machines and we don't typically do heavy lifting. And so I'm going to get some help to get orientated to what can I do to keep myself strong and healthy. And a lot of times that can be part of like an orientation to a gym. If you are out in the middle of nowhere and you don't know what to do, get a hold of us. We can come up with a program for you to do at home. We have great online memberships through our apps that'll give you good direction, that'll help you out and get you started.
Here's a few things that definitely kill muscle: overtraining. Again, I'm going to say it: sleep, excessive cardio, dehydration, not having enough fluid to flush out uh, the um, inflammation and stuff in the muscle so it can repair itself. So, if you look at the things that decrease growth hormone and also kill muscle, they go hand in hand. So, things like high sugar intake, caffeine, stuff like that, that kind of promotes that inflammation, that's going to decrease your muscle repair and your growth hormone. And so you're kind of doing yourself a double disservice and you don't even realize it from a hormone and muscle recovery standpoint. And along with poor sleep, I can't say it enough. And I don't feel like, most people's stress in their life and protein intake and sleep help them recover enough to a point. And that's probably why, as we age, all of that stuff, muscle mass starts to decrease. And so we'll go back to overtraining. There's different ways to um, train to not overwork muscle groups. So you can have push days and pull days. You can do leg day, arm day. I mean, there's different strategies to be able to lift consistently throughout the week, which consistency is key, lifting 3 to 4 to 5 times a week in order to maintain that muscle and keep challenging it over time.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the fuel source to keep the muscle. Like, what are we eating to keep our muscle mass versus not eating? And um, so there's a little bit of like myths and facts, and what we really wanted to hit on today is our protein intake. And so I also pulled up some key notes on that. The recommended daily allowance, which is minimal for survival, not optimal for thriving. The recommended daily allowance is to aim for at least zero point 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. Okay. So if we talk about ideal intake, that would be like 100 to 160 grams for most women to intake. And that's to not lose your muscle mass. So as if you are dieting and you are, trying to lose weight, but you're not having getting enough protein, like your body does steal muscle mass. Like it's easier to get the fuel from your muscles than it is to get it from the fat. So we really have to keep the muscle. Otherwise, once you get off of that diet, your metabolism is going to actually slow down because you hear about this a lot with the yo-yo dieting and that kind of stuff. Your metabolism is actually going to slow down if you've lost more muscle during that diet than you did fat. And so we have to really work to combat the muscle loss while you're on the diet. So that's why strength training while you're dieting is so important. And again, we talk about dieting, but it's really these should be lifestyle changes instead of like yo-yo dieting. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and it's not just about caloric deficit. I mean, you still have to get enough calories or the body is going to eat that muscle. Now, you can change the calories more towards protein and high quality, excuse me, high quality fats and things like that, but if you're still not getting enough calories, then you're doing yourself a disservice there. So, that's especially if you're an athlete and you feel like you're getting enough protein, but you're not getting enough calories, you're not going to be recovering like you're supposed to.
Hmm. Yeah, so I've been really watching this here lately, and trying to get about 40 grams per meal, 40 grams of protein per meal. And I am amazed at how like satisfied I am. Like I am not having cravings. I'm not having a ton of hunger, like munchy kind of feelings throughout the day. So that is super encouraging to me. And it's really I use an app that I can just snap a picture of my food and it gives me like how many calories are in that, how many grams of protein. And it's super easy. Honestly, I think is like the app is like $20 a year, which is, to me, it's worth it to be able to track that and keep me accountable. And so, there's a lot of different ways to help your body instead of hinder your body.
Well, and you just nailed it right there. I mean, that's one of the top three things that protein does is promotes that satisfaction of being full and then also promoting muscle growth, very important, and boosting metabolism because it has a higher thermic effect and takes more energy to burn protein or process protein than it does fats and carbs. So, I mean, those are the top three things and why protein is so important in weight loss because it's going to it'll use that fat and lean you up more for your energy if you're getting enough of it.
Hmm. For sure. Um, I so what are some of the good sources of protein that you like to eat, Destry?
I mean, just lean meats mostly. Um, I'm a chicken, beef, fish guy. I'm getting a good variety of each one for what they bring to the table. And I did do carnivore, and let me just tell you that I saw a lot of good results on carnivore, but it's not very sustainable for one. Two, I had a hell of a time staying hydrated. And three, I feel like I was lacking minerals and things like that that I needed in order to really feel better and recover like I needed to, rather than just losing the weight. I mean, the weight came off and it stayed off for the most part pretty quickly, and I leaned up really quick and I felt good. But as far as it being something that was sustainable, it just absolutely was not. So also, there's other ways. I mean, there's plant-based things, beans, lentils, um, things of those nature that you can get protein from if you're more on the vegan road. You got to find other sources of protein in the plant world. So there are there are good sources out there, and then you can supplement protein, and so you kind of got to watch what's in that protein and take that into consideration and how it works with your body and your goals. But um, at the end of the day, no matter what it is, getting enough protein um, is better than not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So like for me, I've been doing a lot of Greek yogurt. Same thing, just like high on the meat as far as like chicken, some beans, um, beef, and just, trying to make much better choices and really making sure that that's my number one goal with my meal is that what's that huge source of protein. Um, I do eggs. Eggs are not as high in protein as what I thought they were, but it's a great way in the mornings to get some protein. Like this morning, I had oatmeal, which is a carb, but it's also when you're taking in that much protein, you also have to make sure that you are getting some fiber because otherwise you're going to be constipated. Let's just say that. So you got to make sure that you are getting, fiber from your vegetables and from some whole grains as well. And so just this is probably maybe a little too personal, but on carnivore, like there isn't a ton of vegetables. So like, what do you do to not get constipated, Destry, when you're on carnivore?
Hell, Becky, I don't know. All right, you drink a lot of water, okay? I don't know what
Okay.
else to tell you there.
All
Okay,
right.
I'm
Well,
gonna plead the
I would
fifth.
think you
Ask
could take
somebody else.
I would think you could take some fiber supplements probably, but this is real talk about. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a real issue. And same
no,
thing
you
when I was
definitely.
on keto, it was like a huge issue.
Yeah, no, you definitely need, and there are protein sources that have fiber in the plant-based stuff. So you can definitely mix um getting protein with getting fiber in some of those foods. So there's different ways that you can do it. Uh
You don't want to talk about your bowel
no,
movements on here.
no, I don't want to talk about it, Becky. Okay?
Okay, we will
But
move on.
it wasn't that I don't know, I didn't really have that much of a problem, I guess. I don't
Okay. All right.
whatever.
Yeah. Okay. One
Uh
thing that as I was connecting the dots on this, one of the other facts that came up is it said that lean muscle helps improve insulin sensitivity balance and balancing that. And so in my mind, I'm like, so is that why as we age, like we have more insulin resistance because we're losing that muscle mass? Like nobody's ever told me that. Like as you lose muscle, you can become more basically pre-diabetic. Well, what did we talk about? Me and my blood results at the first of the year, they said I'm pre-diabetic. Was probably because I've been losing muscle mass, and so I think we all just think it's inevitable as we age that these things are going to happen, but it doesn't have to be that way. So it was total aha moment when I read that statement. I'm like, okay, this is why this happens as we age, or part of the process, I guess. Yeah.
yes, I mean like you got to look at inflammation in your body and stress levels and all of those things that come into play. Because for insulin resistance, like that's why fasting is so effective as you get older and stuff. I mean, fasting is a great way to promote growth hormone. I'm just going to tie it in there again. I'm telling you, it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm not telling you to go get synthetic growth hormone or anything like that, but there are natural ways that you can do it, and it matters through fasting, through good sleep. That'll help decrease that insulin resistance because fasting lowers your blood glucose. And also like not eating a heavy meal at night that spikes your insulin right before you go to bed to where it's fighting that growth hormone in that first hour of sleep. So, um, it's crazy how that stuff all ties together. And so, as you increase one thing, your protein intake, your muscle recovery, you're working out, the overloading the muscles, you're decreasing your sugar and inflammatory foods. Um, all of that stuff begins to work together, and that's why it works in weight loss so well, and leaning up and feeling better and getting stronger and preserving your body over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think a lot of our key takeaways here are, your muscle raises your metabolism. Protein keeps you full and preserves your muscle. Okay. So while you're, doing whatever,
Make sure you get fiber though.
make sure you get your fiber, and then make sure that well, when we get our muscle mass, then that's going to help us with our longevity, so it's going to help us prevent injuries. It's going to help our bone density. It's going to keep our weight under check. And so, you want to eat your protein every day, at least, 30 to 40 grams per meal if you can. Strength train probably minimum of 2 days a week, and more like 5 days a week. Would you recommend, would you say that's correct there, Destry? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on?
three to 5 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And then functional movements. I love functional movements that are in various planes. I'm seeing a lot of things in the gym. It's been a really interesting population to work with now. Like there are not a lot of like inner thigh. I'm a huge about the adductor group for keeping our pelvis neutral. That is probably the most common weak point that I see with these people that are going to the gym a lot, is there's not a lot of inner thigh stuff. But anyways, I will like functional movements. So, training in various ways like that versus just on machines. But the machines kind of help keep you, I guess, you sometimes with functional movements, you really have to watch your form. And so with the machines sometimes can help you stabilize and be in a little better form than that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, compound movements for sure. You're recruiting more muscle groups throughout the body. And so there's ways to train the groin um, through a compound movement like a side lunge or a sumo squat, things like that that I incorporate in our performance program because groin strength we know is so important for riders. So there's more ways than just like, squeezing a ball or squeezing the weight machine and things like that that are more like isolating that area. But you get the functional aspect through, and you just kind of bias it that way with a side lunge or a sumo squat, and it's a more of a compound movement, recruiting more muscle groups, and so that's why I like I've changed my training to the push days versus pull days. So push would be like bench, squat, tricep work, things of that nature, and then pull days are more like deadlift, pull ups, bicep curls, rows, anything that's pulling something to you. So, and I'll incorporate different positions and um, movements in conjunction with a row or um, some of that other stuff in order to recruit more muscles, like the bird dog row. I like doing that one because you're activating your core, you're doing hip stabilization, and you're getting the row same movement, so it's not as much as isolating that one muscle group in the shoulder.
So remember, it is not just about getting skinny, it is about getting functionally strong so that you can do all the things that you love to do, and it'll help your metabolism as you are aging. So, things that I've heard in the even just in the last week, that as we get older, like some of the riders that are listening, like stepping up into the trailer to lift your saddle onto the rack, even just stepping up into the trailer. As we're getting older, some of those gals are really having a hard time with that. So I mean, we need to stay strong to keep doing what we would love to do and to prevent injury. And if you're really struggling with your weight, start tracking your grams of protein. I think that's going to really help you out with the satiety. How do you call it? The to to not be hungry. Satiety, I don't know. I'm gonna
Listen, Becky, I can barely say specificity, so don't give me the going on that.
so anyways, it'll keep you feeling fuller, I
There
guess.
you go.
There you go. And
That.
so, just very simple things that you can start off with. If you've never done any of this kind of stuff, let us know. We can help you out. Um, and we're all just trying to figure this stuff out as we go. And, we're here to help you along the way with what you're trying to accomplish. So, if you have any questions about this or anything else, please reach out to us. Our numbers are on all of our socials or direct message us. We love having conversations. It's been really a fun summer. I've had a lot of great, great conversations with people and a lot of people that are getting some great results. So, um, it's truly what I feel like God's put me on this earth to do. So I love helping people and love hearing the stories. I love hearing, we have so many people that have commented on our podcast episodes lately. So it really keeps us wanting to do these. And please, if you like the podcast, like it, subscribe it, share it with others. We appreciate that because it helps us reach more people and we can keep doing what we're doing. We love it.
Yes, ma'am. All right, I'll close this out and thank you again, all of you, for listening. And man, we just appreciate your support. And as always, let your health be the pivot point to your success.